All right, I've invited you here because, as you know, I've been seeking a solution that marries the things that our members do traditionally well to digital opportunities with the potential to help them create audience that their local clients are really seeking. Now, Brian Ostrovsky and Locable present what I feel is one of the most interesting solutions that I've encountered, melding the traditional power of print to digital. So, without further ado, or in other words, less talking by me, please welcome Brian Ostrovsky.
Thank you, Bob. I'm really excited to be talking with you and, by extension, your members today. And I hope over the next, say, 15 minutes or so, I can share a bit about what makes Locable special, but more importantly, how local publishers can really embrace a systematic approach to taking all the great things they're doing today, from the relationships to the content to their intimate understanding of their community, and parlay that into something more meaningful online. There's a lot that we can cover. So this is meant to be an overview, an introduction, so I hope it's not taken as an exhaustive review, but I also hope that your publishers can get something really useful and actionable out of this and in our conversation here. So a quick background on everything we're going to cover. This is coming from real-world experience. So that's me in the upper left-hand corner. I started Locable as an MBA research project back in 2009 at the University of Washington, and the idea was, can we help local publishers be successful in the digital age? And I came from this small town called Placerville, which is what you see on your screen here, and I loved growing up in this town. It was the place to go to connect with the community. And while it looks just like you see it on your screen, it's not what it used to be. And so what we talk about with Locable and with the publishers that we work with is creating Main Street for the 21st century, that new digital anchor tenant. And as a result, all the things we're going to go through here today are not so much inventing new things, so much as modernizing the way communities interact and the way publishers sort of work within those communities. So at the bottom, you see a timeline that just sort of lays out our experiences and growth over the last 6 years. So I want to start, however, by sharing a story. So this was one of the most interesting stories I recall from business school. Obviously, it stands out enough for me to remember the details, but I think it's really appropriate for publishers. So some of your publishers probably write Harleys. Everyone knows Harley Davidson. And what they may not know is that in 1959, Harley Davidson dominated the local the motorcycle industry. They were so dominant that leadership within their company and Wall Street and whatnot said the market is saturated, and as you can see, they had a whopping $6.6 million in sales. So as a result, they were a bit cocky, you might say, and so Honda was this little upstart from Japan, and they came to the U.S. and wanted to expand. They couldn't compete head-on with Harley, so they created some small bikes, and they targeted non-riders. Now, non-riders. The riders back then were the big, tough, scruffy guys, and non-riders were families and women, kids, right?
Right.
And so I want to be clear, this was a market that was not competitive in an obvious way to Harley-Davidson. It was a new market altogether, so Harley felt no threat about this market. And in fact, the whole tagline was, "You meet the nicest people on a Honda," which was a total 180 from sort of what people
wasn't that sweet?
I know. It was very endearing. And so Harley gave Honda the small bike market. We're not even going to bother. Look how little the price point is. You know, do people really care about that? It's kind of a hard sale. We're going to play on the bigger ticket item of Harley. And so Honda tested it, and they just developed their distribution strategy and sort of the resellers and all of this, and they grew, of course, geographically as well. And so once they had this foothold established, they had massive quantity, sort of they were producing a lot of bikes, and ultimately they could make larger and larger bikes. And all of a sudden they went from not being competitive to Harley to being competitive with Harley and having a price advantage, and also, you know, being a friendlier brand and so forth. And all of a sudden Harley's market share started to suffer. Now, the saturated market grew from, you know, approximately 7 million to Honda alone doing 77 million just 6 years later. So the experts clearly got this right by saying it was saturated. or maybe missed the mark by an order of magnitude. But the point here is now all of a sudden foreign bikes had accounted for 85% of the market share from a market that was previously saturated and completely dominated by an established brand. The reason this story resonates with me is it's so easy to look at new opportunities and go, why bother? And in the case of publishing, there's been this detrimental ideology that print and digital are competitive, as opposed to being a way to approach non-writers, non-customers, non-engaged parties. They're really complementary. And what I want to challenge your publishers to think of is, are they in the path of being Harley or of being Honda? And I hope what we go through here today will show that there's an easy path, or at least a pretty straightforward path to be the Honda in this story and not the Harley. So without further ado, one of my favorite taglines for the industry or talking points is, print is not dying, print-only businesses are. For all the reasons we just talked about with Harley, and for the flavor of the month, whether it's social media or mobile or you name it, print businesses should evolve. Not because print is dying, but because there's opportunity. And it really comes down to leveraging the assets you already have. Your publishers are uniquely suited to completely dominate the local landscape. And we're going to talk about how those assets they have, brand and relationships, can be used to build new audience and new revenue and even grow print in the process. So traditionally, when you look at making money online, and this is perhaps one of the reasons why a lot of publishers sort of dread getting into digital, is that you got to pump a lot of content, probably more content than is happening in print, at least more frequently, albeit not as dynamic and engaging always. That content leads to more traffic, which ultimately allows you to sell ads, banner ads in particular. That's the traditional process. The problem is, it's sort of Web 1.0, right? There's a lot more sophisticated ways that you can grow audience. And so our approach is that there's things you can do today that will allow you to drive revenue and make money and drive traffic and engagement, which so that you're getting the snowball rolling. You want it to pick up speed. And so we're going to talk a little bit today about social promotions, which are fun giveaways that have strong social media tie-ins. We're going to talk about sponsored content. Now, I don't want you to think of this as necessarily the pay-to-play variety, although advertorials are fine. I'm going to give you some examples around other sorts of sponsored content. Of course, you've got things like sponsored emails and coupons, and then things like site sponsorships, or what we like to call charter or community sponsorships. And the last two items on your list here, audience extension and the impact of web presence. We're not going to talk about this today, although I will say two of the coolest things that you can do to make money as a publisher are agency services, or within the umbrella of agency services. Audience extension is selling ads that literally can appear on other websites, but targeted to your local community, even national websites, and web presence. Your advertisers, they need a website. They need a web solution, and it turns out you're in a great position to provide those things as part of your overall package and increase your profitability in the process. So, okay, let's talk for a minute about user-inspired content, engagement, and monetization. So let me use this quick example here, because a lot of the content you produce for print is great online, but you're not limited to what you produce in print to create content online. So here you can see a question that we posted on Facebook. Very simple, very straightforward. What do you want to see in Mansfield 2015? Now, this worked and drove 17 likes and 132 comments, that is replies, because the community had already been sort of engaged. If you go out and you take a poorly performing Facebook page and do this, it won't work. But as you build up momentum, this is something you can do. And you can see you reached about 5,900 people. This is fantastic. They have 2,700 Facebook fans. They reach 200% of their audience. That's outperforming Facebook averages by a long margin, since the average post reaches 2%. They reach 200%. But there's more to the story. So it says building community around content. So we asked people, what do you want to see in Mansfield? And then we quickly went out and we wrote an article highlighting what these responses were about. Now, we could write many articles because we have 130 responses, but we wrote one to start with. And then we published it to our website, to Mansfield Magazine, and we shared it back to Facebook. So the flow was post a question to Facebook, take the responses, create an article on the website, share that back to Facebook, And here's a screenshot I took earlier. This article about what the community wants has reached now 20,000 people on Facebook. This community has 50,000 people. It's been read or linked over 2,000 times. This post, when we shared it back to Facebook, generated another 150 comments. So now we've got a whole other wave of these things that we can do about the community. And the cycle continues. So this user-inspired content can do some powerful things to drive engagement, and you better believe brands, local brands, would love to be associated with this sort of content. So social media and how digital fits in general for your business can really be viewed in a different way, perhaps, than you may be thinking about it to start with. Now, I'm going to go further and talk about some revenue that's tied to this. So the same publisher had us start as a publisher concierge last July, which basically means we run their digital presence. But whether we run the presence or we teach publishers, it's the same approach. And you can see very quickly, after they started using us, their traffic grew in every important metric. And just after 3 weeks, they're up 4 to 6x. And Facebook continued to grow and so forth. And so we started creating these content sponsorships. And these are some of my funnest. This is some of the most fun you can have making money. And, we go out and we create these guides, as we like to call them. So it was Halloween, and so we created a pumpkin patch guide. And it really is a great way to help your families in particular find things to do. I think that's pretty well aligned with some of the mission of local publications. Obviously not hard-hitting news, but still relevant and important. And so if you look at this by the numbers, this guide had 8 farms and mazes and so forth, had a couple of themed events from the calendar, and it was liked a couple hundred times to Facebook. So it drove some good traffic. Now, it also led to 3 follow-on articles. These are articles that are thematically consistent. We love this. If you're going to spend the effort to do something, why not get more out of it? So we posted a trunk or treat guide. We asked on Facebook, what does fall mean to you? And did a similar thing to what I showed a moment ago. And then at the very end, after Halloween came and went, we said, share your favorite pictures of you and your family picking pumpkins. Now, this is actually pretty darn close to user-generated content from user-inspired. And so we simply created an article highlighting the pictures submitted by people on Facebook. And again, we shared it back to Facebook. As you can see, we create these experiences on local sites. And it's a great way for publishers to thrive. I'll make one other observation, however. When we shared one of these to Facebook, one of the moms of the kid who was selected on the cover was thrilled. We made her day. How hard is it to pick a picture and put it on your website with an article? Not terribly challenging. But for that mom, that's a fridge moment, right? I'm going to print this off. I'm going to put it on my fridge, and I'm surely going to hit like and comment so that all my friends and family see it, which means now you're driving traffic to the website for the publisher because they're acting in their own best interest. So it's really fun to see and really rewarding in the process. And, of course, this drove thousands of page views on the site, tens of thousands of Facebook impressions, and you probably noticed that there was a sponsor. The sponsor paid $450. Now, you might think to yourself, well, it's only $450, and that's true. But the thing is, this is an article that you should run anyways. And now you just got paid $450 to do something that you should do anyways. More than that, First Choice was not an advertiser, and so they've been thinking about it and talking about it and kind of dragging their feet about it. But when this came up, there was alignment in what their goals were, and they said, let's do it. So it was the tip of the spear, and now they're talking about advertising in print and running ongoing campaigns. And so some of these digital activities really will make you more profitable in print, whether it's because of the sales tactic that it employs or just because of the relationship. There's just great value in this. And again, this is one example, and you can create ongoing themes around holiday light guides and, New Year, New You, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day. Spring is coming back for you in the Northeast that you're going to thaw out eventually. It never ends. There's always more you can do and more fun ways to engage. So lots of great content and sponsorship opportunities for local publishers. Now,
I think the key there, Brian, is that, as you said, that's something that we were doing anyway. You just found a way to generate an extra $450 from it.
That's right. And
Not to mention all the pin action online.
that's exactly right. And, half of those farms and mazes were already submitting their stuff to the publisher to say, hey, we exist, we're here. And so we combine that with a little bit of our own outreach. And now you've got a great article, and hopefully it doesn't take all that long to do it. So, yeah, I love the word pin action. I think that's exactly the right way to think about this, is the secondary benefits that come from this sort of content is great. And, this sort of sponsored content, along with social promotion, they also generate this sort of pin action. We spend a lot of time at Local talking about social promotions. We blog about it a lot. Let me briefly describe what a social promotion is, and then I'll walk through this slide. So a social promotion is a giveaway. It's a giveaway that's done either as a sweepstakes or a contest. A sweepstakes being random drawing, and a contest being you do something and then other people vote on you on their favorites. But the way that we teach our publishers to do it, and that publishers successfully have been doing for a long time, is you sell sponsorships where the sponsor pays you to advertise and promote and run, and they give you the prizes. So it's a profitable endeavor. People giving you stuff to give away, not profitable. Social promotions, profitable. So what you see here, Baja Sun Tanning. This is a tanning salon in Idaho Falls. I should mention, Idaho Falls went out when they joined with us, and they quickly sold 3 week-long promotions. There's also bigger month-long ones, but I'll skip that. So they sold 3 week-longs, and Locable ran them on the Facebook page for Idaho Falls. So we were sort of their admin, etc. So we took all the graphic work that we got from Baja Sun, and we created our own graphics. We set up a contest page. We ran it on their Facebook page. We posted. We promoted it on their website via email, etc. So it's completely turnkey. And over the course of 3 weeks, they made money, of course. They had greatly elevated reader engagement because the stuff is fun, and who doesn't want to win something? But they also added 1,000 likes on Facebook and 250 email opt-ins to their email newsletter. They got paid to grow their engagement. And this is one of the reasons we love social promotions. Now, they've gone on and they've shown bigger and more valuable promotions, but the point of all this is there's things you can do with digital that grow your audience, that grow your distribution, that grow your content, and that you make money for in the process. And what's fantastic is after you do this, when you go to sell the next one, it's more valuable because you have more fans and followers and you have more email opt-ins, and the cycle repeats. And so it's really quite great. And frankly, then when you do have that breaking news, or you have that inside scoop, or you have the next pumpkin patch guys, you've got a larger audience to distribute that to, which means more people see your brand and engage with you. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful cycle. So we love social promotions. You're not going to retire to an island off them, but they can be a nice revenue source and a nice way to kick off digital. And frankly, with Local, you can do it without hardly breaking a sweat. So what digital represents, and what we love to use as an example, is a dessert and an appetizer. So I want you to think for a minute about the last time you went out to eat, and you're finishing your meal, and the server comes around and says, would you like to see the dessert menu? They may not even break stride. And sure, I don't know about you, I say no more often than yes, but when I say yes, that's the easiest money that server and restaurant ever made. That's what digital is for your publishers. So they've got advertisers who love them, who trust them, who want to reach their audience. Digital is another way to enhance that process. It doesn't replace the entree. It complements it. It extends it. And even if someone says no, it's a fast no, which is better than a slow no. On the flip side, digital is generally less expensive, more bite-sized, and frankly more varied. And so for a lot of local businesses, it's an appetizer. I might not be a print advertiser or ready for print or have the budget or like the print schedule depending on your frequency or whatever. But I'd sure love to do a social promotion or sponsor some guide or something. And so now you can make more money from your existing advertisers, and you can make money from non-advertisers, just like the Harley Davidson Honda example. So this is a new product line. This is not a replacement for the old product line. And that's why publishers can be so much more profitable when they get the plan right. So we love the theory. We teach publishers how to execute that in their day-to-day business as well, but I won't talk about it today because I don't want to take an hour. So as we tick along here, I want to introduce one other thing. And that is that local content really has three major components: articles, events, and business information. And, I know last time we spoke, there's a sentiment that having a business directory is sort of a dated concept. And I would agree 100%, except for where I disagree. And that is because a business directory by itself is dated. People are not going to you looking for a plumber or a martial arts student. However, that doesn't mean they can't find you for that. They can't find it because they come to your site looking at an article and they accidentally stumble upon the directory. That's valuable. Or perhaps they go to Google and you have so much SEO that when someone searches for Taekwondo studio in your market, they find your directory listing. That is what SEO is about for a publisher. And I want to show you how our directory and how we teach our publishers to use it makes it much more than a directory, but really a platform. So a couple things to note. This is a real listing in Texas, and they have 144 five-star reviews. I challenge you to find many businesses with that many on Yelp, other than, say, in San Francisco. This is a lot of engagement. And I want to highlight a couple other things. So to leave a review on our system, you have to be signed in with a verified email address. When you leave a review, it triggers a whole set of activities, like a confirmation email. Thanks for leaving a review. Do you own a business? Would you like to create your own listing? Would you like to learn more about advertising? And so all of these things sort of, going back to the bowling analogy, there's a lot of pin action on this. So how did they get 144 five-star reviews? Well, the publisher a few years ago had this really smart idea. They said, we're going to do a contest. People like contests. We're going to do what we call a five-star review contest, and whoever gets the most five-star reviews in 30 days, well, we're going to write an article about them and profile them in print. Well, as you can imagine, this got some people excited. And, oh, by the way, shows the power of print. And it's also something that Yelp can't do, that other people aren't doing. And so these guys won. They drove 144 five-star reviews in 10 days, which means at least 144 people went to South Lake Style, and at least that many registered. This is a lot of valuable activity that comes from this. And now they've turned it into an annual affair with special advertising sections and sponsors and all of this, just to allow businesses to promote South Lake Style's website. And so this is something that we can teach our publishers to do, and it can be easily replicated in every market. And we went further. We said, well, that's great, but what about the people who almost win? Let's give them a way to highlight their reviews, but on their own website. So even if I never find a customer with one of your publishers, if I get reviews, I can still convert more customers on my own website. So what you see on the left here is what we call our customer reviews widget. It's the first tool we built as part of the Impact Marketing Suite. And any reviews collected through a publisher site are added to the business's site. Just a little embed code. If you've ever embedded a YouTube video, it works the same way. And a couple things I'll highlight here. First, show off the reviews. There's value. Second, the business can collect more reviews from their own website, and it funnels people back to the publisher site. Third, the publisher's brand is here. I want you to imagine for a moment you've got 10 advertisers, or maybe 20, or even 50 who install this on their own websites. And every time someone goes to their website, they see the publisher's brand. That's powerful. We talk about creating Main Street for the 21st century. Now we've created some roads that lead to Main Street. And that helps perpetuate the fact that publishers are anchored tenants in their community. And all this activity gets built around them. This is long-term, sustainable, competitive advantage, and it's something that every publisher should really be after. So the directory by itself, not terribly interesting. The directory is part of a strategy that's executed at a local level. It's game-changing. So we're really excited about this. I talked briefly about the Impact Marketing Suite. It's a web builder marketing tool for local businesses. It's actually being built now by Locable, and it's going to be directly integrated in the directory, which will take all of these things much further. And again, it's about making publishers that anchor tenant, that Main Street feature in their community online.
This is really interesting, and it comes down to what you said before. Directories are dated, but the listings are vital. And
exactly right.
And as I understand this widget that appears on your customer's website, Basically, that's the same thing we did 30 years ago when we used to take cards saying "see our with our brand on it," saying "see our specials"
Hmm.
advertised in the paper every week,
Indeed.
and thinking it was a coup. But now we're doing it
That's right.
digitally, and that's a force multiplier of hundreds of thousands. That's
That's
incredible.
exactly right. That's exactly right. And it really is about everybody being in it together, working together, and benefiting from sort of that effort. And we've seen some great success already. There's some really cool upgrades coming too that'll take it further. But yeah, it's these existing concepts that already have existed offline that we're trying to modernize. And one of the ways we do this is by working with our publisher network, getting their input. How do they do business today? And looking at ways to sort of connect the dots to the future. So it's a great collaboration in working with publishers. So now that we've covered a number of examples, not exhaustive, but a number, I want to quickly hit on some of our philosophy and approach at a high level to sort of wrap this up. So the first is we're all about aligning incentives. If you cover my business in print, my business gets exposure and it grows. That's aligned. If I advertise with you, I reach your audience and I grow, you make money. We're doing those same things online. Now we're going further and creating more sponsored content opportunities and monetizing a wider variety of things, but it's the same basic premise. And of course, it's about a lot more than banner ads. The next thing is that small businesses need marketing solutions. An ad is a solution. It is not the solution. And so when you work with a partner like Locable, you can provide the solution. Driving a lot of traffic to a store that has terrible inventory or no product or is, in a seedy part of town, not going to be that successful no matter how strong the ad or the audience. Same for a digital ad. If I drive a bunch of traffic to your website and your website is not good or doesn't exist, that's a problem. And so now you can really meet that need head on. As for a publisher site, a content site, you need to have articles and events and business information, but they need to work together. And this is one area where LOCABLE'S platform really differentiates. How many times do you write an article that references a business or an event? And how many events do you have that take place at a local venue? It turns out, it's kind of a trick question. By definition, 100% of local events take place at a local venue. Well, that venue should be in your directory, and they should link to each other. And when you refer to a business, that should link to the directory listing and the listing to the article and so forth. This is powerful for user engagement. It facilitates what we call discovery. Oh, look, I stumbled into something new. How fortunate of me to find this highly engineered act of serendipity, right? And so this is done by design. It's also very powerful for SEO, and it's why our technology has better search engine principles than other systems, because by definition, it's interlinked and highly automated. Again, not doing a demo, but it's really important that sites tie together. And finally, we fundamentally believe that publishers need a turnkey solution, a partner who can meet their needs today and into the future. And so this pyramid is a graphic that represents our strategy, which is creating Main Street and the technology that we've developed to that end. And frankly, filling in the gaps operationally, whether it's marketing or ad sales or something else. And to some extent, the network. We're structured to be not just a vendor. And there's this really bad joke I love to tell, and that is the great thing about your publishers is that they're local. But the bad thing about your publishers is they're local. And so when you're part of a network, just like the association, when you're part of a network, you can do more than you could on your own. And we've seen this play out in a number of ways within Local. I've had to go into it a subsequent conversation. So what Local provides in essence is the only turnkey publisher program in existence. Sure, there's other technology providers and consultants and whatever, but we're turnkey. We combine our class-defining technology, which is all about building community around content, not being a newspaper, right? Community around content, with best practices. How do I use it? How do I use social media? How do I sell effectively? How do I tie print and digital together and so forth? With operational support. There are some things we can literally do for you, whether it's run a social promotion, execute an audience extension campaign, and in some cases act as your web editor or community manager. The key here is it's about helping you do more of what makes you great. We're not changing who you are. We're not fundamentally taking you in a different direction. We're accelerating you. We're the megaphone. And that's what Locable is really designed to be. And there's really one other thing. We're a safety net against all the things you don't know, care about, or want to invest time in. We're a safety net against when you get really busy and you're on a print deadline, or it's a crazy time of year, or your editor's out on maternity and things change because, our publishers are almost all 5 employees or less. Somebody disappears for a week, it makes a difference. We're looking out for you, even when you don't have time or energy to look out for yourself. That's one of the things that really separates Locable today and in the future. Now, we work with just over 80 publishers, or rather we're in just over 80 markets. A few of our publishers have multiple sites. And we are structured like network TV, where we like to talk about our publishers being affiliates. There's a collaborative effect here, whether it's us building new technology or sharing best practices, or just looking over your shoulder and saying, hey, I noticed you did this. That was really great. Or I noticed you did this. Here's a way that you can improve it. Locable is here to be a partner, not really a vendor, and of local community publications. I'm sharing a rather verbose set of testimonials. The one on the right is actually on my LinkedIn profile, but I'll highlight a couple things here. Brian and his team have bent over backwards to ensure my team's goals are met. And their customer service skills are top-notch. Their knowledge of small and city and regional magazines combined with their knowledge of the internet and social media will take them far. We go where publishers go. If you're successful, we're successful. As for on the right there, it's clear that Brian understands the value of content-rich, hyper-local marketing. We understand what it's like to live in a community that's small and close-knit, because both me and my business partner did it. And we still live, in smaller communities as opposed to in Silicon Valley where people are a bit disconnected. We are always improving services. We're always looking at the next thing, but not because we're trying to get rid of the last thing. Print's not dying. Digital is a new opportunity for you, and we want to help you get there. Whether your goal is just to make a little bit of money, make sure digital is not an afterthought, make sure that digital isn't something that you're confused about or sort of out of step with. If your goal is just to sort of get going, that's okay, and we can help you get there. Maybe you've got slightly more ambitious goals. You want to incorporate it and accelerate, start picking up speed. Fantastic. Or maybe you want to be the local media resource in your community, which means print and digital and social and email and whatever comes next. In all of these cases, Locable is about magnifying the efficiency of what you do. So don't feel like this is an all or nothing proposition. You can sort of dip your toe in the water, or you can dive right in, and Locable is happy to help. So in conclusion here, we have a network membership, which is what all of our publishers are a part of. It literally is technology training, opportunities, resources. It's everything you need to go out and to be successful today and in the future. It's future-proof. Now, if you're looking for more, if you want us to literally do some or all of the work for you, we can talk about that too. We call it our publisher concierge. From web editor to community manager, we can create authentically local sites and content. And we also have 2 revenue programs, the Digital Sales Coach, which is a 3-month intensive sales coach program. And we have the Digital Solution Specialist, which is us acting literally as your digital sales team. So wherever you fall in the continuum of wanting and needing help to accelerate your business, Locable's in the position to help you get there. It's not just about a better website, it's about a better business and a better web presence and about a better ability to serve your community. And so Locable is very excited about where we've come from and where we're going. So I hope to get an opportunity to work with the association and publishers and help add some of them to our testimonial list and to some of the examples of the revenue that we've been able to help them drive as we go into 2015.
But the people who are listening to this aren't aware that you and I've had a couple of conversations, and every time at the end I ask Brian for a little more. So now I'm going to throw him another curveball that only occurred to me while we were there. And I say, Brian, okay, let's assume a publisher's listening to this today. And he says, yeah. She says, this is what I want to do. Brian, sign me up. What's their life look like in the next 30 days?
Well, the process of creating a website is one that takes all of 5 minutes. So, the notion of, we have to build your website, that's gone. If they already have a content site, perhaps around WordPress or a competitor of ours. There is some time that is required for us to migrate that content, but it's mostly on our end, not on their end. So by and large, the onboarding process is pretty straightforward. We get together, we talk about some of your goals. To go back to that prior slide, which trajectory do you want to be on? Not everybody is ready to step on the gas today. And so we really want to understand that so that we can design a program that's right for them. We also obviously need to know if we're going to be doing the publisher concierge. So if we're going to come in and run the digital presence, that's a slightly different onboarding process. But, this is a couple hours total of initial meeting, some basic training, some helping you get your feet under you and getting you access to the resources that our publishers need access to. So from our help center to some of our video resources, and of course, getting you access to the new website. So it's very streamlined, and it's meant to work into your existing workflow with some subtle adjustments, but by and large, it's sort of plug and play. It's not meant to be it's a new product in the offering. It's not a new business line in terms of having to ramp up to serve a new line of business.